which will unleash the true potential of a digital and connected India that we live in. A quick word on the rollout plans as have been unveiled by the telecom companies. So Jio reiterates that by December 2023, they will have a pan-India presence. Bharti Airtel also reiterates that they will be present in all the taluka tehsils by March 2024, while Vodafone Idea has not given a specific timeline. All they have said, all Kumar Mangalam Birla said in his address was that Vodafone Idea will soon begin its 5G rollout. So the exact timeline is missing, but Vodafone Idea has said that they will soon begin their 5G rollout journey, while Bharti Airtel and Reliance Jio have committed to the earlier timelines of a 5G rollout. Bharti by March 2024, while Reliance Jio will have a pan-India 5G presence by December 2023. We're in conversation with our experts. They're still waiting by to chat with us. So let me quickly welcome once again R. Chandrasekhar, Tarun Pathak, Jaideep Ghosh and Prakash Diwan on the show now. Gentlemen, thank you very much for patiently waiting by. Mr. Chandrasekhar, first wanted to get your thoughts. What did you make? What were your key takeaways?
Well, I think that what we saw was the telecom operators reiterating in front of the PM their commitment to the timelines, which I think are very, very aggressive and impressive because, rolling out 5G has its own challenges in terms of infrastructure, in terms of like we were talking about, the user equipment and the content and the use cases. There's so many fronts on which battles will have to be fought. But because I think it is very much in the interest of the telecom operators and increasing their revenues quickly in order to service the commitments that have already been made for paying for the spectrum, it is very much in their interest to ensure that this is fast forwarded as much as possible. So I think what we saw was some specific timelines. And to me, the timeline for the rollout is not as significant as the timeline for the actual services to become available. And again, what is of significance is not whether I'm able to use 5G. Right now, for example, I am on a 5G connection through a landline. But so what is significant is not just the rollout of 5G, but actually the unique kind of services which only a 5G and particularly a mobile 5G can enable. And a lot of these are in areas which I had mentioned earlier about entertainment. Imagine watching Brahmastra and actually being there in that situation yourself, or having an interactive multiplayer video game, which is AR and VR enabled, which multiple players are playing and you can play that. Imagine a scenario where all of these can be done using devices which are within India's sort of affordable range, somewhere around, say, 10,000 rupees. Then you are going to see something which is dramatically different from what we have today. I think we are on the cusp of that. How quickly that ubiquity will be possible, not just the availability of 5G, but the availability of those kind of unique experiences is going to be very, very important. Applications in 5G or in autonomous vehicles and manufacturing are undoubtedly extremely important. But I do not think that they will provide the kind of, bulk usage or significantly, contribute to the revenues that are needed to serve the investments being made in 5G. So that is, I think, a very big ecosystem question, because it's not just about telecom, it's not just about government policy, it is about a lot of other moving parts, which will all have to move in tandem. And I think that is really going to be crucial. And that is why it is a little difficult to be sure of those timelines. What the telcos have announced is the timeline by which they will provide the coverage, and that should certainly help incentivize all the other players in this content and services ecosystem to align themselves to that. We have all the capabilities. That's the great thing that we should be proud of, that we are already world leaders in the area of entertainment. and we can become world leaders in the area of gaming, which depends heavily on AR, VR, AI, and so on. So I think those are the questions which will play out over the next 18 months as we go forward. That to me is the most exciting and interesting feature of what we have seen the launch of today.
So what matters more is the ubiquity of use cases rather than just the availability of 5G. But that said, the commitment by the telecom operators in their rollout plans, according to you, is aggressive and very impressive. Jaideep Ghosh, Prakash Diwan, we've got Dipan Mehta as well joining in, and Sanjay Kapoor has been present with us from the very beginning. Gentlemen, thank you very much for waiting by. Jaideep, how should we understand enterprise pricing? We have a sense of what B2C pricing is. We get the ARPUs from the telecom operators every quarter. But suppose I am a manufacturing plant and I want 5G to enable Industry 4.0. Your thoughts on how we should start thinking about how operators can start pricing in 5G services to enterprises?
Okay, I've observed over the years, Rima, you tend to ask the difficult questions to me. Over many years. I'm like kind of things which either nobody knows or definitely I do not know. I see enterprise. We have worked a little bit. I personally also have some information which I may share at a high level. Some of the more technology kind of enterprise customers, they have been, running pilots, not necessarily with 5G, but with 4G. So as and when 5G comes, they can launch. So there is some amount of readiness there in terms of what, some of the more tech-oriented manufacturing companies for their, within manufacturing plant area and captive kind of, geographies, etc. So that pricing is nothing to do with ARPU. And anyway, I stopped looking at ARPU many years back. And I think the right person to comment is my good friend Sanjay on what are the right KPIs to look. I think these prices these will not be a bandwidth of the solution. I'll keep it short. I think these solutions will involve not only a telecom operator, or in case that CNP and captive non-public spectrum, some of the large enterprises may take, it will not be a bandwidth based or only per GB etc. kind of pricing. It will be a solution in which you need the telco, you need system integrators, other solution providers, etc. to specify what is the need that particular enterprise or even government customers, say smart cities, etc. or even for fleet management of large fleets, etc. And that kind of pricing will depend on many factors. It's not only nothing to do with how much bandwidth or how much minutes or things like that. The pricing may not be as simple also in terms of so and so dollars per month or something. It could be different innovative models. You do this, that much pricing. There could be a lot of sharing model. We have seen. I have been involved for many years in the revenue sharing model. And those models we should see. So in short, I don't think it's going to be a very plain vanilla per month dollars, rupees, so and so. It could be a stitched solution, and the pricing will be based on the solution impact on the customer over a period of time.
No, absolutely. It's going to be a very complex pricing, which is why I posed this question to you, Jaideep. But Prakash, Bharti as well as Reliance Jio committed to their rollout timelines. Vodafone Idea was a bit vague. They just said, Kumar, Mangalam, Birla just said that we will begin our 5G rollout journey soon. What did you make of that?
So I think it very clearly indicates the level of preparedness is probably not as high as you would see in the other two cases. That the company could be very specific, right? So, I mean, they could have at least mentioned when they could begin, or what kind of a stage they are looking at completing all the rollouts in. But nothing of that sort came in. So the lack of specifics is definitely something which is in a way thought-provoking. And I think it's more to do with the state of the business, the current business itself, in terms of the capital restructuring, as I said. Which has been pending a long time now. Interestingly, the rollout plans are far more aggressive or impressive, as Mr. Chandrasekhar very rightly said, than what we were anticipating. I mean, December 23 is just about 12 months plus from here. It's just about 15 months away of sorts, and that's precisely what I was talking about, that the potential to re-rate for some of these companies, the businesses, the revenue models is going to be dependent on how the adaptation takes place. One is the rollout issue, and the other is how soon the user experience starts translating into revenues. And that could probably be sooner than 2025 is my guess, in terms of reaching the optimal level. So 2024, if that's like what you're looking at in terms of the growth area. Vodafone again is nowhere in the picture at this point in time to kind of assess all of those values in terms of if you were to work backwards. So I think it's going to be a little bit of a miss for them for sure at this point in time, unless they come up with a belated rollout plan, and that's more specific than what we were till date.
Dipan, is the lack of specifics from Vodafone Idea a bit worrying to you? And also want you to comment on the statement made by Mukesh Ambani, where he said that we'll ensure high quality 5G, but the most affordable rates. So I want you to pick on that point about affordability. If 5G is going to be very affordable, what does that mean for telecom operators, ARPUs from here on, and a price increase?
Yeah, good afternoon, rather good morning, and thanks for having me on your show. First on Vodafone, I think that I agree with Prakash that, again, the uncertainty around Vodafone has just gone 1 decibel higher. And the recent announcement made by Indus Towers about recovery, I think that puts an element of, I would say, fear in the minds of investors of Vodafone. And one really needs to consider an investment in that company at this point of time. They've been trying to raise resources, but have not succeeded so far. So let's hope for everyone's benefit, the company is really able to turn around its operations. Coming to your second question about affordability, see, I think telecom companies have to say that it's going to be affordable, and that's how they're going to market these particular schemes as well. Whether actually, of course, the initial packages will be affordable, but then, I think we would see creeping prices going up over there for those packages. End of the day, the telecom companies are there to make the maximum out of this opportunity. And the customers that they're going to be catering to for 5G are the ones who can pay a significantly higher tariff plan as well. And they're going to exploit this particular opportunity as well. There would be only basically two players who are going to offer this particular package or this particular service. And that eventually, maybe not in the first quarter, the second quarter, but once the excitement around 5G kind of settles down and dies down, I'm pretty certain that both the telecom companies will engage in trying to increase their tariff plans, which will be very positive for the telecom companies per se, especially the return ratios. And only after they see how these prices are being absorbed, will they look at expanding the 5G network and investing more in that particular sort of capex plan for that particular service.
Well, even if the telecom operators take a massive ARPU hike, they will still be the most affordable in India. India's ARPUs would roughly be, what, $2? Or close to $2. I think in China it would be $6, $7. In EU it would be in excess of $12. So even if they take a very, very, very big price hike, they would still be the most affordable. Tarun, all the operators were fairly quiet on the context of devices, the pricing, which is your area. What did you make of the conversations, the statements, the comments that we heard from the telecom operators, as well as the minister?
I think they are already quite positive on that. They might have already seen it on the network. Like I said, there are already 50 million 5G devices that are being there already in the hand of the consumers. So they are quite assured on the device ecosystem. I think the challenges are more on the adoption curve. So looking at the example from the China, there is almost 9 out of 10 new phones are a 5G phone in China. But if you look at from the subscriber point of view, almost 50% of those 5G users on the devices are actually using a 4G data pack. So the point is, even in one of the biggest country in the world, people are still not using the 5G plans in the more aggressive way than it should have been. And even looking at the telcos where the 5G networks have been lit up 2 years, 3 years back, the average increase in the worldwide operators revenue has gone up by only 2 to 3%. So India needs to be, I'll say from the operator's point of view, they will be cautiously optimistic on that to see how the India specific use case will be there, and the mind share of the 5G within the consumers is likely to be very high. Now, the point is when you have an expectation very high of a particular services, then the experience should also be on the similar grounds. Otherwise, it will be like what you expect and what you get will be on a different platform altogether. And we are looking at a very, very aggressive rollout right now. So that needs to be looked into. I think if we get that timing right, then the ARPU is going to be somewhere between 250, 300, and that is going to be great news for the operators. So I think device ecosystem, to coming back to your question, I think they are quite assured of that. Looking at even the component ecosystem, the kind of innovation we are seeing even on the RFFE part, which is a critical part of the 5G devices, I think we are good. A very strong development and innovation is already happening on the devices side of things.
Okay, Mahesh Uppal, telecom expert, is also joining us on the show now. Mahesh, thank you very much for joining in. Wanted to get your thoughts on what we heard today.
Well, there is absolutely no doubt that 5G is an exceptionally powerful technology, and it can work wonders for a whole lot of enterprises and industry. Having said that, it is important to be realistic about our objectives, our goals. It is something that will take longer to roll out because it requires a much denser network, which means that it requires some kind of infrastructure at very short distances. We know how difficult it has been to even erect towers a kilometer plus apart. So this is something that we should be careful about. And as the previous speaker also, who I didn't hear completely, mentioned, there has to be a genuine Indian user case as well for the service to be attractive and to be acceptable to fee-paying, to price-paying customers. So that is very important. The service must be value for money. It has, so we have to be clear that for that to happen, there has to be concrete value and there has to be affordability. If those two things happen, then we can expect a larger usage of 5G services across people like ourselves, as opposed to industry and enterprises. So we have to be realistic about that.
Be realistic in our expectations. Dipan, to talk about the point Mahesh said, that 5G does require more infrastructure. We need a denser network. We need more towers. We need a more, a fiber backhaul, which is more than what is currently present. In that context, what's the role Industars is going to play? What is the ask from Industars? Is it ready? And from a shareholder point of view, the risk reward.
See, I think Indus Towers is in a very sweet spot. The only problem is that Vodafone, what is the future of that particular company? And 37% of the revenues come from Vodafone. So that's one question mark, but it'll get sorted out within 6 months at the most. Beyond that, I think if you have a longer term horizon, 2-3 years, 5-year type of a horizon, then Indus Towers has got a great future because the tower density has to move up significantly from where it is just now, as and when the telecom companies roll out the 5G network. And that will mean new opportunities for CapEx, new opportunities for rental income for the company. And the level at which the stock is trading at, it's got a decent dividend yield, low price to earnings multiple. And once this uncertainty around Vodafone is addressed this way or that, I think investors will look at this company in very, very positive light. And you will have a situation where the earnings also will start to move up, and the market will start giving it a much, much higher price to earnings multiple. So this is one company with usual disclosure that we and our clients are invested in it. We're very positive on it. And not only have we invested in it, but looking at making fresh investments and kind of keeping it on our watch list.
Okay. Let's also get in Sanjay Kapoor. Sanjay, India is late to the global 5G party. If I wanted to understand what are the top 3 takeaways from global operators, their rollouts, their plans, and the experience, what would it be?
I think clearly the first takeaway is that 5G is quintessential change of gears to move towards the future of digitization and digital services. So I think it's a necessary evil. You have to adopt it and be contemporary with the rest of the world. I think the second thing very clearly is monetization of 5G is important to make sure that we can move towards 6G and 7G tomorrow. And therefore, advent of use cases is paramount. The third, according to me, is putting together an infrastructure which will enable you to offer a consumer experience which is blemishless, so that more consumers adopt the service and are willing to pay for those services. So those are the three top takeaways for me.
Okay. Mr. Chandrasekhar, what about BSNL and the financial package which the government has given BSNL, 1.64 lakh crore? Yes, it does act as a balancing force in a private telecom market like India, but BSNL is yet to launch 4G services, and now the other telecom operators are on 5G. So your thoughts on the future of BSNL?
Well, as far as BSNL is concerned, perhaps it is serving or occupying a niche, which is a little bit different from all the private telcos. It serves both profitability objective as well as a public need, covering areas which are not covered, providing the kind of infrastructure needed for government establishments which might need a sort of more captive or a trusted network. For example, serving, let us say, defense or security needs, all of those things. Secondly, as we have been discussing, most of the kind of use cases that we have today, including audio calls and video of all types, including for entertainment, can be served by 4G. And for many of the rural areas, even that, having a shared service is quite a big step forward. So I think that is something that...
Apologies, I'll have to interrupt you. Prime Minister Modi has started speaking.